Welcome back. We are moving on to the next session, the next important and exciting session. And to conduct this, it's my pleasure now to invite District Governor, Convener, Dr. Siva Anandan to introduce RI International President-elect Gordon McInally. We thought we'd welcome you with the Scotland the Brave. Okay, as indeed you are a true son of Scotland and most, respected role model, okay, for all of us. I'm just going to say a few words by way of brief introduction, Gordon, and then the floor will be yours. And after you speak, we will take some questions. Is that okay with you, President Gordon?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Gordon McInally is a member of the Rotary Club of South Queensferry, Lothian, Scotland. He is basically a graduate in dental surgery from the University of Dundee and has for many years owned and operated his own medical practice, dental practice in Edinburgh, the place where he was born. President Gordon was the chair of the East of Scotland branch of the British Pedontic Society, and he has also held various important academic positions. He is also a very ardent churchgoer. He served as a Presbyterian elder, chair of the Queensferry Parish Congregational Board, and commissioner to the church's General Assembly. And in fact, we are very privileged to have him here with us today because right after this, he's off to church, if I'm not mistaken. President Gordon has been a Rotarian since 1984, and he has served previously as the president and vice president of Rotary International in Great Britain and Ireland. He has also served as a Rotary International director and is a member of several Rotary International committees. He and his lovely wife, Heather, are major donors and benefactors of the Rotary Foundation. They are also members of the Bequest Society. President Gordon has spent a lifetime in service to others, and his life epitomizes our Rotary ethos of service above self. He is an ambassador for Bipolar UK, an organization that supports people with illness as well as their family and caregivers. I suppose this is why the central thrust of President Gordon's leadership is caring for others, caring for ourselves, which is one of his core values. This is why we chose this wonderful theme that we are celebrating here today, Create Hope in the World, and he has given us all these brightly colored ties to remind us that it takes many different colors to shape the world, and in our diversity, we will find our strength. My fellow Rotarians, I give you the President of Rotary International, Gordon R. McInally.
Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon, District 3300. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to spend a few minutes with you at this year's District Training Assembly. And at the outset, can I thank you for that very kind introduction? You are much too kind and much too generous. I'm speaking to you today from my home here in Scotland, where I am grabbing a few days between Rotary travels. Yesterday, I came back from India, and in a few days' time, I will travel to Korea and Taiwan before heading to Australia for the Rotary International Convention in Melbourne, where I hope to see many of you face to face, rather than in this virtual environment. I said last June in my acceptance remarks at the International Convention in Houston, when I quoted Sir Isaac Newton, the great English physicist, in saying that I would be standing on the shoulders of giants as your RI president. The giants who had gone before me in that role. But you know, as I have travelled around the Rotary world over the past few months, both virtually and in person, I realise I will also be standing among giants. The giants like each and every one of you who will play such an important part in Rotary during 2023-24. The giants who will create hope in the world. This is an exciting point in time in the calendar year as we prepare for a new Rotary year. Training events cascading down from the International Assembly in January, through events such as this and on to the clubs. A new theme, a new logo, a new tie and a new scarf, and of course, a new cohort of leaders. It is all change. But, you know, some of the best examples of leadership any of us can show at this time is to build a bridge between one year and the next, and not simply to close the door on the year just ending. And in doing so, to continue to support the efforts of others. I have always been a great advocate of continuity in Rotary. I've tried to practice it at every level of leadership, be it in the club, at district, or at zone. And I have no intention of altering that approach now, because I believe strongly in the concept of Rotary's years, plural, where there is a seamless transition between leaders, rather than the concept of my year, singular, where one individual takes us in one direction, only for other individuals to take us in different directions in subsequent years, before all too often we end up right back where we started. Where individuals will not embark on any initiatives that do not complete in their year because they are worried they won't get the credit for it. Waldo Emerson, the 19th century US philosopher, said, "There is no limit to what can be achieved if it doesn't matter who gets the credit." Well, I agree 100% with that statement. I'm not bothered who gets credit for something, as long as that something is worthwhile and done properly. And that's why I count myself extremely fortunate to have been able to work with President Jennifer this year in a spirit of true continuity that we hope will see Rotary move forward on a straight and steady and ever improving course towards an ever better future. And I'm delighted to have already started to do so with President nominee Stephanie. I would urge you to do the same in your district and in its clubs, because there is no doubt whatsoever that the most successful districts and clubs are those where there is true continuity in leadership. I'm sure by now, many of you will have heard, read, or maybe even seen my speech in Orlando at the International Assembly outlining the plans for our year ahead. Time precludes me from repeating these in detail today. But if I may, I'd like to touch on two particular things I would really like to see us address during the coming year. And they stem from our vision statement, which, as you all know, says, "Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves." And today, I'd like to focus on two specific ways that we can bring the visions of lasting change across the globe and lasting change in ourselves to life. Firstly, across the globe, by putting a greater focus on peace. I am in no doubt whatsoever, that the founders and builders of this organization would be proud of the hard work we have done in the past year to support the people of Ukraine as they have faced the brutal war with Russia, as we have done so many times in the past. Rotary has answered history's call and put humanitarian relief first. We have donated generously. We have supported our fellow members wholeheartedly. And we have earned the respect of the entire population of that beautiful country. But we all know that true relief will not come for the Ukrainian people, nor for that matter the Russian people, until there is peace. The same is true in Yemen, Afghanistan, Syria, and countless other places across the globe where we still see conflict and where we are seeking to serve. I'm on record as saying, peace is the soil where hope takes root. Well, we till this soil every time we create new connections between people, and every time we find new opportunities for commonality, something that it is within our power to do across the world in so many different ways. Every time we practice positive peace. In Rotary, we know that peace is not a passive dream. It is an outcome of hard work, earned trust, and often difficult conversations. We know that peace must be waged persistently and bravely. The bravest goal any human being can set is the pursuit of peace. And in Rotary, everything we do, every single thing we do across all our areas of focus helps make peace and redemption possible through the creation of hope. At the International Assembly, I spoke of a lady from Thailand who helped me come to the realization that the theme for 2023-24 should be Create Hope in the World, with her story of how Rotary had given her hope after the tsunami of 2004 had taken away her family, her livelihood, and her home. But like many of you must have done, I have seen time and time and time again how Rotary has created hope for those we serve. One of my most recent such experiences, and arguably one of the most powerful ones, came only last August during a week-long visit I made to the Philippines, and was yet another example of how Rotary not only changes lives, but quite literally saves them. In Manila, I had the opportunity to visit the De Los Santos Medical Center in Quezon City, which for a number of years has been the site of a wonderful partnership which has seen Rotary help the poorest of the poor children of the Philippines gain access to free surgeries for congenital heart defects. The surgeries being carried out not only save their lives, they allow these children to become normal, happy, and achieving. Well, during my visit to De Los Santos, I had the opportunity to visit the recovery ward and meet several patients who had not long had surgery, and to greet them and their parents. Parents who were so grateful to Rotary for what we had done for their children. As I left the ward, I was invited to witness at first hand a surgery about to be carried out on a young 4-year-old girl with a hole in her heart. A hole in her heart that, were it to be left untreated, would limit her life and ultimately cause her early death. Well, having carried out my fair share of oral surgery over the years, I was no stranger to the operating room, and so I was happy to watch this little girl's procedure, a procedure that was going to save her life. As I stood close to the operating table, marveling at the skill of the young pediatric cardiac surgeon performing the operation, I felt my cell phone vibrating in my pocket. Once the operation was complete and the little girl was safely in the recovery room, I took out my phone to discover a WhatsApp message from Scotland with a photograph showing my 4-year-old granddaughter Ivy in her new school uniform with a beaming smile on her face. For that very day, at the very moment I was witnessing that little girl's procedure, Ivy was setting off for her first ever day at school. As I stared at the photograph on my phone, I thought of that little girl whose operation I had just witnessed, and the fact that thanks to Rotary, thanks to people like you, she too would also soon be able to embark on the journey of education on which Ivy was embarking. She too would be able to enjoy a normal, happy, and achieving life. And as I blinked back the tears in my eyes, I realized that for her, hope had been created. So, in crafting what is not my theme, but our theme for this incoming Rotary year, I wanted to issue a call to action. I thought of the lady from Thailand. I thought about the little girl from Manila. And I thought about so many others I have met down the years. I thought about what we're doing in Ukraine, in Syria, in Yemen, in Afghanistan, and elsewhere. And I realized that this is how Rotary brings lasting change across the globe, one newly created hope at a time. And it also begins to explain how we help bring a similar kind of change within ourselves, the second of the parts of our vision statement I referenced earlier. Because for many people on this planet, lost hope is not just a function of material poverty. All of us face challenges that threaten our well-being. And just as it takes tremendous courage to wage peace, so too it is brave to reach out and admit that you need help. In the wake of the pandemic, more people than ever are hurting. Many have lost the people closest to them. Others have seen their social networks uprooted. Divisions have grown wider. Opportunities for connection have been lost. And some of those hurting the most are the children and young adults whose education and social skills building has been so badly interrupted. To make matters worse, in many parts of the world, asking for help, especially in the field of mental health, is considered a weakness. At the International Assembly in Orlando, I shared publicly for the first time how I had seen that all too close at hand when my brother, my only brother, Ian, descended into the depths of despair and depression that ultimately led him to take his own life 9 years ago. With the benefit of hindsight, Ian had been struggling for some time, despite being highly successful in his chosen profession, and despite having the most loving wife and family. But he just could not bring himself to ask for help. Was it for fear of being seen as weak? Was it for fear of being judged? Or was it even for fear of being rejected? We will never know. But believe me, these are 3 questions I ask myself every day in life. I might venture to suggest that one of the main reasons that my brother and so many others like him reached the point they do is that mental health remains such a taboo subject, and that mental health services remain in such short supply. I've heard it said that the mental health system is not broken, it just hasn't been built yet. Well, maybe, just maybe, Rotary can, as it has done with so many other things in the past, help to build it. And that is why I want us to prioritise mental health during 2023-24 and hopefully beyond. I want to encourage you to erase the stigma associated with emotional well-being. I want to encourage you to raise awareness of mental health needs. And I want to encourage you to improve access to preventative and interventive mental health services. It's a big ask. It's an important task. And I am asking each and every one of you to become champions of this effort. I want Rotary to become known as an organisation that takes care of the people we serve, and takes care of its members. Any mental health professional will tell you that by helping others, we essentially help ourselves. In fact, a recent study conducted by Ohio State University in the USA found that the single most effective way to alleviate the symptoms of depression is to perform acts of kindness. Just pause and think about that for a moment. Experts are, in effect, now prescribing what we do in Rotary as the best way to create hope for ourselves. The evidence overwhelmingly shows that helping others benefits our mental health and well-being by reducing stress and improving our mood. And the friendships along the way foster an incredible sense of community and camaraderie, themselves essential ingredients to mental health and wellness. So, these are just some of the plans for the year ahead, for our year together, that we help bring peace to the world and soothe those afflicted by conflict and violence, and that we help each other and our communities deal with our own internal struggles, and that we end the stigma associated with asking for help. In all these actions, to help the world heal from destructive conflicts, and in turn to help us achieve change in ourselves, we create hope. We create hope in the world. Thank you once again for allowing me to spend time with you today. And thank you for all you do for Rotary. More importantly, perhaps, thank you for all you will do for Rotary. Each and every one of you is a credit to the badge you wear. And I am proud, very proud, to belong to the same organization as you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Gordon. Thank you for that very inspirational address. And will you be able to take a few questions?
Yes, I can.
Right.
Happy to.
Before I pass the microphone to my moderator, the Deputy District Trainer, I would like to extend a personal invitation from all of us to you to come to Malaysia at any time convenient to you. All right, as our guests, you and Heather, we'd love to have you here. And since the convention in 2024 will be in Singapore, think about a stopover here before you land in Singapore. Okay. All right.
That would be delightful. Thank you for the invitation, and let's try and make that happen.
Thank you, Gordon. I now pass the microphone to my Deputy District Trainer, Shirley. She's going to moderate the session of question and answers. Okay, Shirley, over to you.
Good day, President Gordon. Before I start the ball rolling with the questions from the floor, there was one question that was already sent earlier, and I'd like to ask you that question, which is, what's the biggest potential that you see in Rotary as an organization that has not been fully realized?
I think the biggest potential we have at this particular point in time, coming out of the pandemic, is the fact that people over the last 3 years have realized the value of volunteering and the value of caring for others. I think there has been a great spirit of caring and of volunteering all over the world during the pandemic. People have finally started to look after their neighbour. And I think that is a potential that we have in Rotary to connect with. But it's a potential we will only have for a short time. And so I think it is so important that we reach out to people at this point in time and say, if you've enjoyed and if you have felt good about the fact you've been able to help others through the pandemic, why not come and join Rotary and help others in the long term? And I think that is the greatest untapped potential we have at the moment. I think there's a great many other potentials, but in terms of untapped potential, I would say that is the greatest one we have at present. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I'd like to invite our current district governor, Dr. Krishna. He has a question for you.
Good evening. Good evening, President Gordon. I'm Dr. Krishna, and I'm current district governor of District 3300. My question to you, sir, in all your travels in Rotary, either in the past year and the previous years, what is your take on the status of diversity, equity, and inclusion in Rotary as it is practiced in different countries? And what is the hope that we will practice diversity, equity, and inclusion in Rotary?
Well, I think you have made a very important point there in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion looks different in different countries. For me, the most important part of DEI, as we term it, is the inclusion part. We have to be an inclusive organization. We have to make sure that Rotary reflects the communities in which it exists. It's as simple as that. But you know, I don't think it's the case that we have to let it happen, and we have to be open to it happening rather than going out and targeting certain people to join us simply to make our DEI quota. But it's the I part that's the most important, the inclusion. We have to be inclusive, and we can only be inclusive by being diverse and equitable. So that is the most important part. And it's also important to recognize that DEI looks different in different parts of the world. As with so many things, there is no one size fits all. DEI will look different in District 3300 to what it does in my district of 1020. And it'll look different in 1020 to other districts in the world. So it's important to recognize that. But my plea is that over time you become truly inclusive and that you represent the communities you exist in. Thank you.
All right, President Gordon, I'm Virigi Castillo. Yeah, I have one question for you. Now, since the elevation of practice as a membership type of Rotary International and the imposition of RIUs with effect from 1st July 2022, we saw a decline of almost 500 Rotary clubs and a loss of around 2,000 members since. We are quite perturbed with what is happening. Can we sustain this type of membership type? What is your view on this?
Well, I think the first thing we have to recognize is that and I would use the word introduction rather than imposition of dues on Rotaractors did not come from Rotary, but came from the Rotaractors themselves. Rotaractors around the world expressed a desire to contribute to Rotary finances by paying dues, and the Rotaractors themselves helped negotiate what the due structure should be. And as you know, that is anything between $5 and $8 per person, depending on whether or not they are in an educational-based Rotaract club or a community-based Rotaract club. So it was not Rotary International that imposed on them a fee structure. They actually asked if they could pay a contribution and pay dues. We are seeing varying levels, but I think what we are seeing is we are probably seeing now that there are dues being paid by Rotaractors. We are seeing a more accurate description of Rotaract and a more accurate description of our numbers. Our numbers were very nebulous. Nobody really knew how many Rotaractors there were. And now we're getting a much more accurate figure. Of course, that $5 and $8 is also giving Rotaractors access to a great many more resources. And so the feedback we're getting from many places, in fact, is that it's good value for money. And that it's not that they're reluctant to pay, but that it's good value for money, and they're happy to be able now to, for example, access foundation grants to help their projects along and things like that. So I think we remain in the very early stages of elevating Rotaract. We use this term since the Council of Legislation 3 years ago decided to change Rotaract from being a programme of Rotary to being a category of membership. We're in the very early stages. I've been describing it as we are still dating. We have not made that final commitment yet, and I'm sure there'll be a little bit more give and take on both sides before the marriage ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you. Would there be any questions from our presidents? For our President Gordon. Okay, you're all looking very silently at me. So on a lighter note, President Gordon, before I hand over, we know that you're a dentist. So if you were a tooth, which would it be and why?
Well, I was asked this question by the writers of the Rotary magazine last October, and I'll give you the same answer that I gave them, because I believe that this is the answer. And if I was a tooth, I have said I would probably be an incisor, because that is the leading tooth, and I like to think that I lead from the front and that I work with everybody. But it doesn't really matter what tooth I am, because every tooth in the mouth is important, and every tooth matters, be it an incisor or a canine or a premolar or a molar. All teeth do specific work, and I like to think that I can work, and I do want to work with everybody. And I say that to all of you. I'm not a big fan of a hierarchical structure that sees me sitting in an ivory tower somewhere in an office block in Chicago. We're all working on the same playing field, trying to achieve the same thing, trying to do the same good in the world, trying to create hope in the world. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you, Gordon. That was a very incisive answer. Okay, and I would now like to invite my district trainer, past district governor Teo Kwan Swee, who just asked the question a short while ago, to thank you on behalf of all of us. Okay, past district governor K.S. Sivan.
Thank you, thank you. My dear friends, protractors, and fellow Rotarians, I'm delighted and honored to propose on behalf of our district vote of thanks to our esteemed allied president, Mr. Gordon, for his time with us and delivering an insightful and inspiring speech at the 89th District Training Assembly. His speech has left a strong impact on all of us. His explanation of Rotary's vision, together we see a world where people unite to create a lasting change across the group, in the community, and in ourselves. And his vision for continuity, for peace, which is the soil for hope. His priorities on mental health were equally stimulating and thought-provoking. His sharing of his experience provided us with invaluable insights into enhancing the impact and effectiveness of our service initiatives, and also encouraged us to continue pushing beyond our comfort zones towards achieving greater impact. His words shall inspire us to keep our Rotary values and priorities in sight as we strive to create hope and make the world a better place. Once again, we thank you for your time and your sharing. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. It's been great to spend time with you. I'm just sorry it's so short. Have a great evening.
Okay, thank you, Gordon. And all the best to you. And our goal, the goal we've set for our district in terms of membership is to grow from 2001 to 3,000 by the end of your tenure as Rotary President. Okay, so let's go for it. Okay, we agree. Good job. Okay, thank you for your time and thank you for being with us, Gordon. Hope to see you in person soon. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.